like this.
Welcome to the Hanji Hello Podcast, episode 5. I've got a special guest today, Sachin.
Welcome.
If you guys watch my videos or watch behind the scenes and pictures and stuff, Sachin is in bare stuff because he does loads of filming, he does photography, he does driving. What else do you do, Sach?
Eating, drinking,
walking. First thing I wanted to talk about was me and Sachin have really good conversations as well, like on our long drives and whatever. So first thing I wanted to talk about was why I ain't done a podcast since February.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start, bro. How many months ago was that?
Was that February? So that's 5 months ago. Today is July. Is it June? No, June.
June.
Yeah, I haven't done a podcast. I've talked to quite a few people about this behind the scenes, but because I've just been demotivated.
How comes, bro?
I feel like the podcast that I was doing, like I was trying to do like one a month. That was my goal, to do one a month. And then we were in lockdown like February time, and it wasn't going to open up till June 21st. It was supposed to, which is like next week, but that's not going to happen now again. And I had planned to have guests. So there was a couple of people that I had asked. You were in my head to have a podcast with, but I hadn't asked you at that time. And my first guest was supposed to be someone else. No offense.
None taken.
But
I made the list. I'm good.
But because of lockdown and stuff, it couldn't happen, and I just got demotivated. And then I felt like, you get into a negative spiral of thinking. So you're like, is anyone even listening? Does anyone even pay attention? Does anyone even care? Blah, blah, blah. All this kind of stuff that just goes on in your head, and you start going round and round in circles, and you go into a spiral. And even today, I felt like I don't know if I'm going to do the podcast. But I came here today because you guys got the podcast, you and Kye, right?
Yeah.
So the plan was what? You called me.
So basically, the plan was do 2 podcasts in a day, one with Kye, and then one for Hanji Hello, and then obviously incorporate lunch.
Well, we did lunch, and now I'm bare sleepy. But even now, I was like, let's do your podcast first, and then we'll do mine. And that hasn't happened. We've done
But why are you putting it off? Like, what's triggering that sense of like, I can't even get started?
I think I built things up to be too much, and then I'm like, I don't know if anyone's paying attention. I think that's the thing. I feel like nobody really listens, and which isn't true because I get loads of messages and loads of really amazing feedback for the podcast I've had since I started it. The emails, the messages, all that kind of stuff, even the Instagram, the YouTube comments, is so much really positive and supportive stuff. And even behind the scenes, even Kye, we were speaking earlier, Kye was telling me he listened to the podcast yesterday and how they're really good, and how I think it's just a negative self-talk, innit?
Yeah, but then why did you start the podcast? Maybe let's go a little bit further back.
Okay, I think I started the podcast because I felt like, okay, that's quite interesting actually. It's making me go back and think about it. I feel like I have a lot of things to talk about, and I have a lot of knowledge on different things. When I have conversations with people, I'm very interested in learning new things, learning about all sorts of things. I get into things and I really get into them, nutrition, food, music, film, even psychology and relationships and people. And I have all these amazing conversations with people about things that I'm going through, things that they're going through. And just speaking to friends, they're like, it's amazing that you should do a podcast. And the other thing is to kind of peel back the curtain a bit, because when people look at me, I'm not necessarily, if you look on my Instagram or you look on my profiles, you might not see who I am as a person. You might just see an image, or how I portray myself as an artist. It's not necessarily the person who I am behind the scenes. So the podcast was more so people can kind of get to know me more as a person and as a human being.
So if your goal was for people to get to know you, then what triggered that spiral? Would you say it was lockdown that stopped it? Because if your goal was to go in there and just freely peel back the curtain, then it wasn't you wanted to peel back the curtain and have a huge audience.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
It's very true. I think, to be honest, that time, it was a demotivating time for a lot of us. Like, because we were all excited about things opening up again, getting, shows, getting all these things going again. And June seemed so far away.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened around that time was we started working on projects. So I think the last podcast I did was probably before we did Journeyman, Forever Journeyman, I think.
Okay. Yeah, just before.
I think I did it just before we shot Forever Journeyman.
Yeah.
So again, that was just kind of starting up that cycle of being creative and working on music and music videos again, which we've been doing. So, March we did Chemistry, and then we did in April we did the documentary.
Yeah.
From Journeyman to Forever, 10 years, and then
we did Fix This.
Last month we did Fix This. So I think that probably because and I can do, like, it's not like that takes forever. That's like one day of shooting, and then obviously there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes before that and after that. I can still do the podcast, but I feel like I'm just, I guess, a bit of laziness as well, right?
A little bit. But do you know what? I think as a creative, I kind of felt the same around February. It was a weird time. Nothing was really going on. Like, work had kind of slowed down a little bit. There weren't really many shoots and stuff happening. So kind of your creativity was limited to just the projects you felt like doing. So I can understand why it kind of...
So for you, So for me, a lot of it is I'm self-reliant, as in I have to think of a song or do something or get something, and then it's my project.
Yeah.
For you, you're doing work for other people.
Yeah.
So you're you're doing photography for other people, you're shooting videos for other people. So how, like, that demotivation process, why was it demotivating for you? Was the work wasn't coming in, or?
I think one aspect was work wasn't coming in as much as, let's say, like December and January. So it's like things got super busy, and then kind of not suddenly, but relatively suddenly came to a halt, and things kind of slowed down for like a month or two. But it's kind of difficult to translate. Obviously, with your songs and stuff, you're coming up with the lyrics and the concepts and a lot of that. But I mean, unless it's away from the music video side, a lot of my work is translating other people's visions. And so it was difficult to do that because I'm so just lost in not being in the flow of it. And I think when you get out of the flow, you kind of enjoy sometimes just taking that backseat, and it's hard to kind of kickstart again.
Do you think that when things slow down, but I have an issue of doing this. I start saying one thing and then my brain starts thinking something else, then I go elsewhere. And I've noticed this on my other podcasts. When I listen back to them, I'm like, bruv, just finish that thought. But hold on, let me just backtrack that for a second. What I wanted to say was, do you think that people work or keep busy to distract themselves from dealing with their problems and their issues?
100%.
Do you do that?
I think yes, to an extent. I bury myself into work,
so you don't have to think about.
So I don't have to just figure out everything else around me.
Yeah.
It's not always even in a negative way, but generally, like, even if you've just got one or two things to do away from work, and you spend a lot of time thinking about it, sometimes it's easier just to get so busy with work stuff and then just deal with the problems as they come, rather than anticipating them and building them up to be something.
So you're saying that if you're not dealing with your problems, what you end up doing is
creating bigger ones.
They become bigger than they are. But then the opposite of that is you're not actually dealing with them at all. You're kind of burying your head in the sand, or just you got tunnel vision and they don't exist anymore.
Depends on the problem. I would say it depends. If it's like a small thing, like you got a little bit of paperwork to sort out and just things that let's just say it's not necessarily...
That's still work though.
It's work, okay.
I'm talking about problems as in like relationship issues, arguments, maybe things that you've, disagreements that you've had and you're just ignoring them, or you're not processing or dealing with things that you've been through in your past. Those kind of things I'm talking about, emotional relationships, that kind of stuff.
Do you know what? It's a weird one because I definitely say I'm someone who throws myself into work. However, generally, the times where I have a slowdown are when it feels like sometimes the right time to deal with certain things. So rather than trying to be like, okay, cool, I've got this problem and I need to prioritize it and I need to deal with it now, sometimes I kind of just let go of it. And when my time frees up, seems like the best time to sometimes deal with a problem. Because if you deal with it too early, it could make it worse. And if you deal with it too late, it could make it worse.
So you're giving yourself space to allow the problem to not become greater than it is and create distance between you and the issue.
Yeah, and just accept the fact that, look, there's something here I need to deal with, but I'm only giving it a certain level of importance. Not because I don't care about it, but just because sometimes if you put too much importance on a negative thing, even though your intention is good trying to deal with it, you can sometimes go into a spiral of making yourself have more negative thoughts about it.
So what if, how do you determine if something is a important enough priority to be dealt with as soon as it pops up, rather than letting it fester or taking space away from it to gain perspective?
If it's something that keeps me up at night, I know I have to deal with it the next day. So if I'm thinking about it in bed, it's like either I get out of bed and I have to sort it out, whether even if it's work or not work related. Sometimes I'll remember something in bed.
It's interesting that you keep bringing up work when I'm not talking about work.
Okay, generally problems. If it's something
that's but that's quite interesting, Sach, because I feel like you, as a person, you actually are very, very focused on your work. Like work is in your life. I think like your family and your work is probably as of equal importance.
Yeah, it is. I think that kind of stems from just because, well, when I went to uni, so some of you probably don't know, I did civil engineering, which is completely different to what I do now. But alongside that, I was working on obviously the photography and the videography thing. So building that platform over the last kind of nearly a decade it kind of feels weird to let it go to like a backseat position. So I'm so focused on it because it's something I've built and it's my baby.
I think it's that, and also because you can have control over it.
Yes.
So being able to control something allows us to feel like we are in control of something in our lives. There's certain things that we can't control in life.
100%.
You know, life comes at us at all different angles. There's things that happen in life that we can't control, but this is something that there is control over.
Definitely.
For me, when I deal with issues, I deal with it through my art, through my work, what I do. So if I'm going through something, I'll deal with it through a song or through music. And I feel like it's been difficult for me to do that because I can't pinpoint what it is I'm actually feeling. So when we're talking about why didn't I do the podcast or whatever, it's because I don't know what I was actually going through or what I was dealing with or what I'm trying to, because everything, all this stuff that's happening, it's all new.
But were you were still making music during the times that you weren't doing the podcast, right? So do you feel like...
Which was difficult though, it wasn't easy.
But do you feel like the songs that you made were worth that difficulty? I know some songs probably just come to you.
Yeah.
But would you say that the fact that you've switched off from the podcast and you've gone through the difficult process of making a song, would you say that the songs you've made, forget what other people think about it, but as an individual who created something, would you say those songs are better because of the difficulty of making them, kind of thing? If you get what I'm saying?
I think with Forever Journeyman, I don't want to beat a dead horse because we've done like a whole like documentary about it, but you guys can check that out on YouTube. It's called Journeyman to Forever on my main YouTube channel. That was difficult, but I knew it had to be done and I knew it was in me. With Chemistry, that came together so quickly, and I was surprised within myself how quickly that came together and how easily we were able to get that done. That song was done in like a week.
Yeah.
From beginning to, that's a video and music within a week.
Within a week.
Yeah, literally. Me and H went to the studio with Mumsy. We got the vocals done. I got my lyrics done. I think there and then I kind of finished it vocally. He finished the song, and then we shot the video literally the next week, and then like a week later it was out. That was a really, really exciting time and a good project. But then with Fix This, I wrote that last year.
I remember I was in Mumsy's studio when I first heard it, probably September, October time.
It was done around, I think, April or May time.
Okay.
And then I think Mumsy started working on it. I had it before then, but then I got Mumsy involved to work on it, and Rashi kind of sent her stuff around that time as well. So yeah, that was done last year, and the song I'm trying to work on next is proving super difficult for me to get my head round, and I've got a mental block. There's songs that I've done, so when you're saying like, am I finding it easier? It's still really difficult. I've only really done 2 songs. The other ones, I've got a bunch of songs that I haven't released yet that I want to do videos for. But the next one, I want to make it, it's a current, like a song that I want to make like chemistry, like it's one that I've done and then we release it rather than it's something that I pull up from a couple of months ago. But yeah, I'm finding it super difficult. I've been working on it since Feb.
Okay.
And I'm just struggling to get it done, and I don't know. It's interesting. We'll look back at this when it's done, and I'll be like, "Yo, bro, remember when I was trying to struggle to get the
I couldn't get it right." Yeah.
Yeah, but right now I'm really struggling with that. The next one and the next couple of ones, I think they'll be a little bit easier. Some of them are already done. Like the next couple of ones I've already done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like I blame Mercury retrograde. That's what it is.
Do you feel that now, obviously the whole June 21st thing has been pushed back, but things
for people that don't know,
yeah.
In England, if you're not from here, we were supposed to open up from June 21st in England. Everything was supposed to be open.
Yeah, that includes no masks, no maximum number of people. It was meant to be.
At the moment, restaurants and things are open. You have to still mask when you're moving around and indoors and stuff. Social distancing, all that stuff.
Events are restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be outdoor in it.
Outdoor, and dancing indoors not allowed.
Yeah.
Dancing outdoor is not recommended. So you can, but you're not supposed to.
There's a bunch of, to be honest, those rules are like, they change them all the time. But June 21st was supposed to be the date when everything was, all the restrictions were lifted, but it's been delayed another month. But sorry, it's actually going on.
Yeah, do you feel like, obviously, compared to February, now restaurants are open, you can eat in, you can still go places and physically meet people. Do you think that has helped you mentally get out of that space of, obviously I know you're still finding it difficult, but compared to maybe where you were in March, do you think now in June you're a lot more active in writing or thinking about things because you're having more experiences on a day-to-day basis?
I actually thought that it would, but it hasn't. So even when things opened up, so like I think non-essential retail opened up in restaurants, right? And I was really looking forward to that. I was like, okay, cool, that's finally going to happen and it's going to be good. And I didn't go anywhere for a week. The day that happened, that whole week, I still stayed at home and I didn't do anything because I don't know what it was. Like, I just felt like, okay, cool. I think it's constant going in and out of lockdown, all this kind of stuff. You just kind of get immune to you're just like, okay, cool. So now we're locked down, or cool. Okay, now we're open. It's
kind of numb to the whole feeling.
Although I did really enjoy our trip to Thunderbird and the alley. That was a really good.
That was a good
day.
2 hours out.
Yeah, and we had a really long walk that day.
Yeah,
to burn it all off.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Thunderbird do wings, like chicken wings, but they also do vegan jackfruit wings. So those are did you ever try the jackfruit wings?
No, I didn't. But they had a bone in it, like a fake bone.
Yeah, so the bone was made of sugarcane.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think it was sugarcane.
Okay.
So you can actually like bite on it and kind of suck all the juice out. So that was...
Pause. Go on.
So that was kind of interesting. That was nice. What did you get?
I had the wings. I had the regular chicken wings.
Yeah.
They were so good, man. I think getting wings in the UK is really difficult. Like good ones that like you get in America.
So where would you say like the best wings that you ever had were?
It's gonna sound really funny, but the Comedy Cellar in New York. It's not even a restaurant.
Okay.
I don't know if I was because I was so hungry or because we were laughing at the comedians at the same time.
Yeah.
So when you go to the Comedy Cellar, you have to. It's like a 2-drink minimum that you have to have. But one thing can be you can get like a food or get 2 bits of food.
Yeah.
It's basically 2 things from the menu you have to get. So the first time we went, I was starving, so we ended up getting wings, and they were amazing. Like I couldn't believe how good the wings were. And we were in a comedy club, like laughing and then eating wings and trying to look at the stage at the same time. It's bare, like, you know, it's really like compact as well. If you see, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. If you look on YouTube, in Comedy Cellar in New York, you'll see how small it is. A really low ceiling.
Yeah.
And Louis CK showed up.
Okay.
There was another comedian that showed up. I'm really into like comedy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that's the best place I've had wings. But here is Thunderbird.
Here is Thunderbird.
Yeah. They need to sponsor me or something because we're giving them bare shout outs. Like I'm literally recommending everyone to get Thunderbird wings, and because they do the vegan ones as well.
It's a good place to take anyone.
You can't really say to don't eat meat. Just be like, yeah, bro. They do vegan.
Their sauce was really good. I don't know what it was. Really vinegary.
I think that's what it is. It's the sauce.
With
the wings, they're crispy as well. Like that's the issue. In the UK, you go to anywhere and have wings. They're like soggy.
They've been sitting there for ages. They
don't know how to make them properly, man. They just. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about what happened to my face today.
Okay.
Because I don't know how it's looking on the camera, but it is bare shiny, isn't it?
No, it's less than it was, but it is
Okay, my face is like really shiny, and it might be like little marks and stuff. It's because for the first time today, I got a hydrofacial. I got a hydrofacial. And there's like 6 steps, and they, whatever. My sister-in-law did it because she just recently qualified some course where she studied how to do it. So I said to her, "Can you?" She asked, let me like do it on you. I was like, "All right, cool." And I said, "I've got to go." I knew we were coming today, so I was like, "I'll get it done beforehand. Look nice and clean for the cameras and that." And then she was like, "Yeah, you can do it. It's fine." I was like, "Yeah, I'm filming afterwards." She's like, "Yeah, it's fine." After she finished it, she'd done all this stuff on my face, put it all on. I was like, "Okay, cool. Can I wash this off now?" She's like, "Now you got to leave it on 24 hours." She goes, "It's better if people do it at night time and then go sleep, and then your skin has to rest and you can." And I'm like, "You're telling me that now? I told you yesterday."
After I have to go on camera.
I've got to go. So that's why my face is a little bit shiny.
It's cool. We'll put a little filter over the top.
I've never had it done before. It's actually quite good. Like, cleans your pores.
Explain the process. How do they...
Bruv, I don't know, man. I just lay down and my eyes closed, and then they're scraping and they're pulling stuff and they're putting cream on and rubbing it with like lights and UV lights. And
have you ever had any other treatments aside from like hydrofacials?
On my face?
Or like just generally?
I used to like this. People are quite funny because they kind of say stuff about my beard and stuff, but I don't know. But I used to get this threaded.
Okay.
Which makes my eyes water, like getting your beard like line up, you're threaded. Have you ever had that done?
I've never threaded this part, but recently someone waxed it.
Yeah, I've had it waxed.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one.
Did you cry?
Nah, close.
Did your eyes water?
Yeah.
It happens, man. It's so painful. When I got this threaded, the thing is, it lasts so much longer. If I'm shaving this, like I trimmed this with my blade today, and this will last like a day, and then it will grow back.
For those of you who are not watching on YouTube, Rax is pointing to just that bit on his cheeks, like
above
the beard. Yeah.
It's actually, you're smart, man, because I don't realize that people are going to be listening to this as well.
So where else is... So I watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But where else do people...
Wherever they're listening to it right now. It's everywhere, isn't it? Like Spotify and...
Oh, sick. It's on Spotify.
Yeah, Castbox. Whatever. All of the ones, man. I use Castbox, but I don't know. I think it's on... Yeah, I just submit it everywhere.
Oh, sick. So back to the treatments thing. I think there was a time where you waxed your arm.
I didn't wax my arm.
Okay. Your arm got waxed.
Yes.
Let's tell us a little bit about that.
So Pav, people that know Pav Daria, he came to England and we had like this little pool competition, and he said if he loses the pool game, you know what's mad? The day before we had the same thing and I beat him like twice, I think. Yeah. Like 3 games.
But there was no bet on that one.
Nah, and the next day we were like, let's do something funny and film it. So we were like, okay. And I don't know, he had some issue with my arm. He's like, your arm's so hairy. He goes, I want to wax your arm. So he goes, if I win the game, I'll get to wax your arm. And I said, if I win, I'll wax your eyebrow. And clearly he won. And then what happened was they went to Tesco and bought these strips, these wax strips. So 1, you're supposed to warm up the strips. They didn't do that. 2, you're supposed to put them on your arm and then straight away take it off.
They left it on.
They put them on and left. They put like 2 or 3 on and left them for about a couple of minutes. And then on top of that, you're supposed to put some like cream or something on your arm afterwards, and they didn't do that. So I had all these like really massive pimples on my arm, and yeah, it wasn't nice.
So you're not meant to wax when you have long.
Bro,
you're meant to like trim them and then wax.
I don't know, bro. This is like out of my knowledge zone.
Have you had anything else waxed?
I haven't.
So one time I turned up to a job. It was for a beauty company, and they were filming like tutorial videos.
How to
for
wax.
like waxing and other like things. So the I won't say the brand name, but it was like a new product that they were releasing, and like there's this blue colored wax, and
Okay.
yeah, you didn't need a wax strip. You could just kind of like attach it and then like pull it off.
Okay.
And then they needed someone to demonstrate the back waxing thing, innit? And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll give it a go. I didn't think it was gonna be that painful, innit?
You got your back waxed?
Yeah, I got my back waxed.
Oh my God.
It was
When was this?
This must have been in like 2016.
Jeez.
So it was a good 5 years ago. And lay down on the bed and that, and the guy's just talking, and I thought it'd be a quick process, yeah. But obviously, because he's doing this tutorial, he's spending half an hour, so it's like slow torture. He's like one by one, and there's like blood spots all over my back.
Oh man.
But like it was proper smooth after, man. I wouldn't recommend it though. Like,
how long did it take altogether then?
I think if he wasn't talking in between, it would have been like a 10-minute thing.
So who filmed it then? If you were supposed to be filming it?
So have you ever met Raju?
Yeah.
So Raju from Signature Media, he was with me on the job as well, and
we need to see this video. We need to release this video on YouTube.
I might give you
put it on your Instagram.
I'll give you a little screenshot to put on.
All right. Put it on your Instagram though.
I'll give you a little screenshot.
This is what the people want. This is the content that people want.
They want to see my back.
They want to see you get your back waxed. This is good content. You should put this out.
I'll put it out. Well, after the podcast comes out, everyone jump onto my Instagram, and I'll have it ready.
So, with podcast, what made you decide? Like you and Kye, I got your podcast that you lot are starting up. What made you decide to do a podcast?
Do you know what? I'd probably say it was more Kye's idea. I've always been behind the camera.
Yeah.
So obviously shooting it and recording it, like I kind of know what to do. But Kye obviously is a radio presenter, host, DJ. So naturally it kind of just thought, okay, cool. What can we do with our spare time? Especially during COVID where we weren't as busy. It was a bit of like, okay, cool. We got all this time. You know, what can we do with it? So we thought, okay, it took us a year to come up with it, but we got here in the end. So we thought, cool, let's film some podcasts, get some guests on, and just kind of see where it goes.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know how I ended up on this side, but
I think you're such like when I was thinking about people to like have on a podcast, like I was saying before, me and you have bare like interesting conversations. Like we're driving places, we're going places, all these like adventures that we do. We have like really, really interesting conversations. I feel like you're an old soul, like
I feel old.
I know you're uncle, like you look like an uncle, but you're quite a young man, like you know what I mean.
Guys, if you're listening, guess my age. That's kind of
30.
Easy. No, don't say that. Come on, I think my handle is 96.
Kye, how old did you think Sachin was before you?
Definitely like late 20s.
Late 20s, isn't it?
And that's a while ago.
Easy. Whenever we go place of video shoots, people think you're like an uncle. Plus, you're getting better now, but you used to dress like an uncle as well, man.
Do you know what it is? I just want to thank a few people for buying me some
Go on, let's big them up.
Alright, cool. DJ Kye with the trainers and that.
Big up Kye.
Music by Nish.
Man like Nish helping Sacha.
Some more trainers.
Smashed it.
And I want to thank Rax for the Hanji Hello. Nah, actually, you didn't give me no hoodies, bro.
Small, bro. That's your motivation to fit into a small.
I'm never gonna be a small, bro.
I've only got smalls. I'm gonna get. Don't worry, man. I got you. We're launching. If anyone wondering as well, we're launching a new Hanji Hello stuff very, very soon.
Can you give us a little
clothing?
Nah,
nothing yet. But it's gonna be. We're gonna be launching it very, very soon. And don't worry, I got you then, man.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, yeah, apart from the fact that I dress like an uncle, yeah? Why am I here, bro?
So, yeah, we've had interesting conversations about, like, relationships and, things that we've been through in life, like, So, there's a thing that I recently read. I think I told you about this as well. It's going to be a bit foggy now because it's not as clear in my memory as it was maybe like a month or two ago when I started reading. But I was reading a book called The Untethered Soul.
Yeah.
And I was telling you about it. I was listening to the audiobook as well because I was really trying to internalize the message of the book and this a technique as well that the writer goes through. Michael Singer, I think the writer's name is. So basically, The Untethered Soul is a book by Michael Singer, and it's about. I would really recommend it. I had it for such a long time and I never really looked at it, or like when you just buy a book and you're like, okay, this is supposed to be good, and then it just sits there for ages. And then one day I just picked it up, and literally as soon as I started reading it, it just connected with me straight away, and I read a couple of chapters as soon as I started reading it. And the first thing that he says is, it probably isn't the first thing because it's about a month ago, but what he says is, if you stop and listen to the voice in your head, who's listening to that? Like you the voice in your head is talking, but who's listening to that voice in your head? And he's like, the person that's listening to that voice is you. The person that's the voice that you're hearing is your mind talking, and you're not your mind. So it's interesting if we kind of circle back to the beginning of the podcast when I'm talking about negative self-talk.
Yeah.
So the things that we tell ourselves, or the things that we say, or things that we're talking about in our head, like the conversations that are happening in our head, that's not us. That's actually our minds talking, and a mind is a tool. Like it's like your arm doesn't tell you what to do. You tell your arm what to do. Yeah. Your mind doesn't tell you what to do. You are in control of your mind. You're the listener. You're in charge. And as soon as I heard that, I don't know why, I just had like a revelation. I felt at that time that was such a... It's not anything I haven't heard before, but the way it was presented just kind of clicked with me. And it's quite interesting because in psychology, I spoke to a friend of mine who does psychology, and they were telling me that that's the opposite of what they say in psychology. They're like, you are your mind.
Yeah.
Whereas this is more of it's kind of a more, I would say, like kind of new agey spiritual kind of thought. Like you're a soul in a body, and you're listening to you're in charge. You tell your mind what to do, what to think about. Your mind is a powerful tool. So that was the first thing that I kind of learned from that book. And then there was another section of that book later on. There's a bunch of exercises that he gives to try to kind of help you separate yourself from thinking that same, getting into these routines of thinking that you are your mind, or believing that you're your mind. One of the other techniques is, and talking about is, this kind of links into what we were talking about earlier as well, with when I'm asking you how you deal with things, is a lot of us hold things in our bodies. So like if you go through a difficult thing, for example, like any type of problem or trauma, or even an embarrassing thing, what happens is it comes up, and your brain or your mind or whoever you are, you just no, don't think about it. You
just suppress it as far as you can.
So you're trying your best not to talk about it. You literally want to be like, okay, I was walking down the road, and okay, I'll tell you a real story actually. This is this one. So when I was at uni, I was a little bit of a loner when I started. I didn't really have friends, and I was quite introverted as well. So I'd be by myself a lot. So when I started uni, there was a massive hall that we had to go to during the first week, and you had to go there and get a picture taken for your ID.
Okay.
And I just went in there raggo. Like I had a hoodie on, and I put the hoodie over my head. Yeah. So I was literally just wearing a hoodie, like with the hood up, and like jeans or whatever. And I went to go get my picture taken, and I don't know why I was like ready to have an argument with someone. This is the kind of frame. You know what it was? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to analyze myself now, because I was nervous and shy and kind of introverted. It took a lot for me to come out of my shell, and I wanted to stay in my shell. And if someone tried to take me out of my shell, or it felt like a threat basically. Yeah. So I would treat them like a threat, and that becomes like being argumentative or whatever. So that's the reason why my mind frame was to be like, if someone comes and tells me to take my hood off, I'm gonna be like, you can't fucking tell me to do that. Or I was ready to kind of I was in that frame of mind, but it was because I was feeling threatened. It was a massive hall. There was so literally must have been 1,000 people in there. Yeah. And that made me anxious as well. Like all these people, all these students, it seems like everyone knows each other. I'm here by myself, whatever. Anyway, so we went in there, got to the place where we're taking the photographs, and I've got my hood up, and I look like such a road man. They took the picture, and no one said anything to me. Yeah. Literally, they took the picture. They gave me my ID. And my ID, I've still got it now. It's like me with my hood up. And I remember I'd go around and tell people, I show people, oh, let me see a uni ID. I show them. It goes, how did you get a picture taken with your hood up? But it was what it was. Anyway, so because I had my hood up, I didn't actually see this. There was like a low hanging pole. Okay. So what happened was after I took my photo, I remember walking off and I whacked my head on this low hanging pole. Yeah. and I was so embarrassed. Imagine the hall's like full of like 1,000 people. I'm already feeling how I was feeling, and I thought to myself, everyone saw that.
Yeah.
Everyone saw me just embarrass myself, whack my head on this pole, whatever. So to link back to what I was talking about before, that's an embarrassing memory for me, and it was for a long time. So, you know, we do this all the time. You're in the shower or you're just about to knock off and go to sleep, and that embarrassing memory will just come up in your head and you'll be like, no, don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
So that was something that I would think about often. There's a bunch of other things that pop up, but this is like something that's not as like serious.
Yeah.
So what he says in The Untethered Soul is what happens is you have all of these things where your emotions are triggered by these memories, and what we do is we suppress them and we hold on to them. Whereas all we need to do is allow them to come up, sit with them for a moment, breathe, and they dissipate, and eventually they just disappear. And it's like removing it from your body. It doesn't mean that, because there's different things. This is a very minor thing, but obviously people go through very, very difficult things, and it's not as easy, and it isn't applicable to everything. But for certain things, I feel like this is such an important technique. So I did it, I don't know if I did it for that, but I did it for something else that I'm not going to talk about. I think I might have told you about what it was. But it literally, I saw something and it triggered me, and I went through that whole, okay, ignore that. And then I was like, hold on, wait, let me go back to that again. And what happened was I allowed myself to get triggered, to feel that emotion. It's literally like here, right in your chest. And what he says in the book as well is, he goes, your heart shuts down. Yeah. He goes, you feel it. If you stop, close your eyes and just breathe, you'll feel your heart shut down. And what you do, and it's here, it kind of sits here, like if you're listening, I'm just pointing at just below my ribs. And he says that that emotion kind of sits there. And what you do is, if you relax, breathe, and open your heart, you imagine your heart opening up, and you imagine that what happens is that emotion just goes through you, rises. You might even feel emotional. You might, whatever you've been suppressing, you'll start feeling that. And then you allow yourself to feel that. Once it's felt, it dissipates and it's gone. And I did that, and 5 minutes later, I went back to the other thing that triggered me again, and I felt nothing. I didn't feel that emotion again. I didn't feel that embarrassment. I didn't feel any of that stuff. And I thought that was such a powerful technique that I picked up from that book. So I'd really highly recommend it for anyone to check out. It's called The Untethered Soul. Did you try any of that, Sachin? Because I remember speaking to you.
Do you know what? I started listening to the audiobook, but the problem with me, I'm just not good at routines. So every time I thought, okay, I'm going to spend half an hour listening, I'd do it. And then if I got a job on, I'd kind of forget about it. But then after we spoke about it, I kind of went away and thought, okay, I guess I've always thought of the mind as a tool, but not accepted it. So you kind of know, okay, cool, like I can control what my mind is thinking about, but you never really attempt to actually make what you want of your mind. So I think going forward, it was, in the last few months, just any kind of situation that's come up, whether it's like even just like simple decisions of just like what to eat, just kind of thinking, okay, cool, my mind is saying, great, I should eat this, but it's also kind of before you do that, you kind of think, all right, cool, but what is best for me? Like, am I going to go and bang the pizza again, or am I going to eat something a bit more healthy? And
pizza,
I did go for the pizza, but I thought about it before I did it. Do you know what I mean? I gave it another shot. So even just down to that simple level, and that's as well, I guess, why a lot of people, like when you mentioned about kind of accepting that you are not your mind, I guess that's why a lot of people fast, to kind of detach yourself from that kind of feeling of I am the mind, and instead think, do you know what, this is just a body and I can control it, kind of thing. So I think when I started trying to implement this, I started with food. So because I thought that's for me, that's a decision I make a few times in a day. So I know, okay, every time I eat, let me at least think about the process. Sometimes I'd make the right decision, and sometimes I make the wrong decision. But I was more aware that I was choosing something to eat or drink based on what I wanted, not what I was craving.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like when you read these things, it's about being aware. A lot of us are just on autopilot all the time. Like, okay, this is, you just go day to day, just doing your thing, and you don't actually pay attention to what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're eating.
Yeah.
So it's just autopilot. So being aware, that's the most major thing. Also, the other thing I think is important is that everything that I read in this book it wasn't like this is a revelation. I've never heard this before. I've heard all of these things before, but either it was the timing, maybe my mind was in the right place to be receiving that information at that point. Maybe it was the way it was communicated. A bunch of different reasons why, but that was the right time for me to accept that information. So I never it's interesting for me to hear you, because I just want to hear how someone else has interpreted it as well, because you'll interpret something completely differently. Maybe the way you're saying it is that you're applying it to a completely different situation, but for me that it affected me in a major way, and I'm interested to see how it's affected other people as well, because
I think
it could be for many different reasons.
I think the go-to kind of application of this theory is for things that have already happened, and as you said, kind of dealing with your emotions. But then I also feel like I wouldn't even say the next stage, but something to do alongside that is understanding what you're going through presently as it's happening, not through hindsight. Because obviously hindsight's beautiful. You can always go back and think of a million scenarios of how you can improve or do something different. But if you can try and apply a little bit of that while you're doing something, I guess it will save you from having to feel emotions, certain emotions.
So the opposite thing, what you're saying is very true. So the opposite that is, if you're already, like a lot of people are like me, are holding on to things that they've been through.
Yeah.
By dealing with them, we're more present to what's happening now as well.
Agreed.
So it's the same thing basically. The way you're saying it is if be more present now, so in the future you won't have it. And I'm just saying that if you've got it in the past, deal with it, so then you can be more present as well. But
also, you don't want to just sit there and try and deal with things that, unless they come up. I think that's important to maybe discuss.
I think it's identifying it. A lot of people, they might not know that they're actually holding on to something.
Agreed.
Some people have been hurt, or they're carrying a hurt, and it's interesting. It's in the book as well. We become so familiar with it, and so
you kind of accept it.
It's not even accepting it. Actually, it's becoming so familiar with it. It's like being comfortable being hurt.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable being hurt, basically. Like if someone's digging a blade into your arm and hasn't pierced the skin, but it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they take it off, you might be like, no, put it back, because it's been there for so long. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
So it's one of these things where people get used to these problems that they're constantly dealing with, and they're not even aware of it or identifying it. So that's a whole step in itself as well. I feel like people that listen to this podcast are probably a little bit self-aware in that they can feel like, okay, I'm going through this, or I've been through this. They kind of know that those things, they can identify those things. Yeah. So this is just like something that I've kind of been through and dealt with, and it's been helpful for me. So I'm just trying to, pass that information on to other people. There was one more thing, Sach, that I wanted to talk about. Let me just get my phone quickly, because what's the timing on our thing right now?
45 minutes.
Okay, that's cool. I just wanted to quickly, because I did what did I call my section again at the end?
Auntie Rax, was it?
No, what was it called?
Agony Uncle Rex.
Agony Uncle Rex. No. There's someone gave us a name. Someone called it.
Someone did give you a name.
Someone named it something, and I've completely forgotten what it's called now.
Actually, that's the last episode you did as well, isn't it?
Because it's been a couple of months. Hold on, let me.
Guys, it's been 5 months. Cut him a bit of slack.
We'll
put a little text box.
I'm sorry.
Somewhere here.
I want to read this email, because I received this email.
And it's my favourite part of the show, man.
I received this email. Okay, cool. So the previous time I had received, the person that I had given advice to, they had said that they were 50-50 about dating someone. If you listen to the last episode, Kye, you heard it. Did you hear it yesterday? So you're a bit more upset. I can't remember. What was it again? That the person had... I've got the email here, but I don't want to... Actually, you know what? I'll just summarize it slightly. So in the previous episode, the person had said that they were a freshman in seminar class, and they met a guy in the freshman year of uni. They were in a group of 4. Hold on, I'm just reading it. And her friend was telling her, trying to force her to get into a relationship with this guy, and then the guy wasn't there was like a 50-50. I can't remember the exact situation. Anyway, Go back to the last episode, listen to it. Sorry, I'm rambling now. This is what happens. So this person emailed back, literally, I think it was the day after that podcast came out, for an update. So this is our first update on the Hanji Hello podcast.
Okay.
This is the email. So she says, I love Forever Journeyman. Thank you very much. She said, I had forgotten about the email I sent you until I heard the podcast. It's been a while and a few things have changed. The guy and I are now dating. Oh yeah, I remember that. The advice I gave her was to allow it, like don't get involved with it. I had said to her, look, just leave it. Like it sounds like you're not interested and he's not interested, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, basically she's saying now, this guy and I are now dating. I've landed the job I wanted as a financial analyst to start working as soon as I graduate. Congratulations. After working for a few years, I hope to start my own business, and I'm currently in the process of making the prototype. She goes, thank you for your time and advice, and I appreciate it. Thank you for the update. You didn't take my advice, but I'm glad. Yep. I'm glad that it worked out for you. I'm always happy for people that make it work and that figure it out. I think that's the end of this episode. Thank you, Sachin.
It's been a pleasure
for being the first guest on the Hanji Hello podcast. Big up Kye as well, helping on this one. We're going to be shooting the episode for their podcast now, which mine's probably going to come out first, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. So yeah, guys, in a couple of weeks, check out the What's Your Problem podcast, and it's on the Moving Famous YouTube channel. If you can't find it, check out at DJ Kye UK, and you will find a link somewhere there.
Cool. Thank you guys for listening, and I'm going to try and be more consistent.
Come on. Guys, we're going to film 5 today, all right? If we're in the same location, same clothes, don't watch.
All right. Thank you guys. See you next time.
Like this.